It is tip-off time right here on the game weekend. Good morning, everybody. My name is Boom Gonzalez. Let's get in the game. And because we've got all the up-to-the-minute sports news you need to know. And by the way, earlier today, the Milwaukee Bucks fall in game number 1 against the Brooklyn Nets. That's 115-107. And we will give you more updates in the NBA or from game number 1 of the NBA Eastern Conference semifinals in a bit. But first, one Gilas Pilipinas cager and former UP Fighting Maroon shows us what the word puso really means. Let's find out what Javi Gomez de Liaño has been up to on his quest to make the country proud. Let's watch this.
After being cut from the Gilas Pilipinas team that competed in the first window of the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, Javi Gomez de Liaño is eager to prove that he has put in enough work to deserve a spot in the squad for the final window. Javi always does things proudly carrying a chip on his shoulder. He fought for his spot to be in the Gilas Pilipinas training pool and is competing every day to deserve a spot in the final lineup. This fighter mentality started at a young age because of an early cut.
Yeah, all of those details, I take it personally. Like going way back, it started with in high school. The first time I tried out for the national team, under 16. I always felt like I can make it to the team, but well, it wasn't meant for me. And every time I get cut, I learn something from it. I learn what I have to do better next time. You should always look it at a positive way. You shouldn't, blame anyone. You should, in fact, blame yourself. Tell yourself you can do better. So ever since then, I've been using that mentality wherever I go because I know that more challenges will come throughout the years, and even now I have my own struggles. Even last year. So every year, I'm always ready for the ups and downs coming my way.
It was another tough cut that pushed Javi forward even further. With Gilas Pilipinas preparing to open their campaign in the FIBA Asia Cup qualifiers, Javi trained in the pool but was not included in the final 12.
Well, that also started with a eye-opener for me because that was the only time I realized I needed to lose weight was when I got cut from the national team. When they went to Indonesia, yung first window, I was the final cut under Coach Didal. And what I liked about it, that he talked to me. He said what I needed to work on. He really said that I'm too overweight because I have to transition playing shooting guard now. Look at sila Carl, Balti. They're the guys playing 3 in the future, and they're like 6'8", 6'9". I'm just like 6'5", so I really had to translate my game. But during that time, I really had a lot of lopsided. My defense was bad. I was really overweight. That time I was 225. Then, ayun, when I got cut, that's when Coach Mark told me to see a nutritionist. And I also told myself na mahirap yun eh, someone who loves to eat. Diba? You have to be open to change. So I told myself I really need to do it na. So it's for my own good naman.
Now all of the hard work that he put in and the sacrifice he made are translating to him becoming a better basketball player. Without needing to carry the extra weight, Javi can do more on the court and takes less time to recover.
I felt so much better because, imagine it was Feb 2020, I got cut. Then the next game was already the Bahrain, the November. So coming to Bahrain, I really felt prepared. I really felt great. Not knowing I didn't know I'd be called up, but during those times, I told myself I have to be ready for whatever opportunity comes. So imagine I lost 30 pounds I was in a 6-month diet. I had to caloric deficit ba. I was like eating almost 3,000 a day. Then I had to shred to like 17 calories. So it was really hard, but it was worth it. I felt so good afterwards. Life became easier for me in terms of playing basketball.
From Calamba, Laguna, Carlo Pamentuan for One Sports Plus.
Thank you very much, Carlo. Inspiring story right there from Javi GDL. And of course, we wish him the best of luck for his journey to representing the flag once again. Now, we call for a quick break this time. In the meantime, another Filipino is on her way to representing the country in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Also, we will recap game number 1 of the NBA Eastern Conference semis between the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. Don't go away. The game weekend. We'll be right back. We're back with you here on the game weekend. Okay, reminding you again, earlier today, the Brooklyn Nets take game number 1 of the best-of-7 series of the Eastern Conference semifinals over the Milwaukee Bucks. And we will talk to a very good friend of ours a little later on to find out what happened in that game. In the meantime, we've got more exciting news to share because it looks like another Filipino athlete is headed to the Olympics. Skateboarder Margielyn Didal is expected to earn a slot in the upcoming Tokyo Olympics, according to the Skateboarding Association of the Philippines. The announcement was made ahead of the conclusion of the World Street Skateboarding Championships in Rome, Italy, where Didal reached the semifinals. Didal is currently ranked 13 in the world and in the world skateboarding rankings. And if she remains in the top 15 after the competition, Didal will become the 10th Filipino athlete to qualify for the Olympics. Now, other athletes who have already secured an Olympic berth are Aidlin Diaz, Yumir Marshall, Irish Magno, Nesty Petesio, Carlo Paalam, Carlos Yulo, EJ Obiena, Kurt Barboza, and Chris Nievares. The Olympics will take place in Tokyo, Japan from July 23 to August 8. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the Olympics. But in the meantime, when we return, we'll break down all the action from Game 1 of the East semifinals between the Brooklyn Nets and the Milwaukee Bucks. Keep it locked here. You're watching the Game Weekend.
Okay, stand by. Next na tayo, Tyler.
Static.
Tyler, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hey, Ty.
Boom, is that you?
Boom, yeah.
What's up,
Can you hear me?
Boom?
Hey, what's up, man? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you, I can hear you. It's just
Okay,
a bit,
quick.
the quality is not that good though.
Quality of my sound to you is not that good.
Yeah. But it's better now. I can understand naman.
Okay,
We're good.
hindi ko masyado marinig si Tyler Alio, paano na lang. Anyway, Ty, don't be surprised every now and then. I'm just gonna go Taglish, even with my questions to you, but you don't have to answer Taglish. We're back with you here on the game weekend. We're, of course, coming off that emphatic victory by the Brooklyn Nets over the Milwaukee Bucks. We were just getting started with that exciting matchup here, game number 1 between Giannis Antetokounmpo and the Bucks, and the big three of the Nets. Now, as I've been saying, Brooklyn took game number 1 against Milwaukee. The score was 115 to 107. The big news here was James Harden goes down 43 seconds into the first quarter. But still, with that, the Brooklyn Nets totally survived that game against the Milwaukee Bucks and actually pulled away in that third quarter and the start of the fourth quarter to put away Giannis in game number 1. All right, now let's talk more about that game 1 win. The big Eastern Conference semifinals showdown. Joining us for our discussion this morning is my teammate from NBA Hype, our host, Tea Time, Tyler Teo. Hello, Ty.
What's up, Boom? Thanks for having me here.
Oh, magandang umaga, and thank you very much for making time for us. Pasensya na, ginulo ka namin on a Sunday morning. Pero I'm sure gising ka naman, Tyler, because you were watching this game, which basically started, I believe, at 7:30. Okay, two things. Let's start with that. The James Harden injury, 43 seconds, and then Blake Griffin stepping up. What are your thoughts on this game number 1?
Well, first of all, that was a big injury from James Harden because he's such a big part of what they do, both offensively. More so offensively, of course. But I think the fact that Brooklyn was basically playing the whole regular season incomplete really helped them prepare for James Harden's loss because, they're basically prepared to go in any lineup, whether Kyrie's out, KD's out, or Harden's out. They know how to adjust because they played basically the whole year like that.
Ang ganda nung sinabi mo, Tyler, kasi usually ang pinag-uusapan natin kahit nung pag nasa NBA hype tayo, di ba, na parang how will they all get back together when it gets to the playoffs dahil maraming wala. It's either Harden's out, either Kyrie's out, or either KD is out. But in this case, you're saying that it actually helped them na they've dealt with this kind of adversity all throughout the season. So parang, okay, we've done this before. So let's do it again. Okay, Blake Griffin. What did you think about that game? Sabi nga nila, it's not an old Blake Griffin, but the old Blake Griffin. Do you agree?
I agree. I think Blake Griffin was definitely the X factor in this game because, as we mentioned earlier, Harden was out, so someone had to step up. And I think the big difference was that the Brooklyn role players were just ready to step up, and Blake Griffin was basically the one who spearheaded them. He was aggressive from the beginning, both offensively and defensively. And in the second half, I think he did a much better job containing Giannis. He was baiting him basically to just take threes, and Giannis kind of bit. So I think it worked out with them.
Tyler, pag-uusapan natin yung Milwaukee Bucks maya-maya lamang. But I want to draw from your playing experience. This is why we want you also here today. In terms of this hamstring injury, and especially pagka-recurring yung injury, have you ever felt anything like this? Have you ever injured yourself in this case in the same way? Have you ever come back early? And if you have, mas malala ba pag na-re-injure mo yan? What's your playing experience with a hamstring injury, Ty?
Well, actually, I just injured my hamstring during this lockdown because we just came from a long layoff, and then I started playing competitive basketball out of nowhere. So I injured my hamstring, and then it's definitely a nagging injury because once you injure your hamstring, you have to make sure that you're 100% healthy before you come back, or else it's more prone to tears, to micro tears. So, in my opinion, it'll take at least 2 weeks to be 100%, 2 to 3 weeks of rehab, and depending on the grade, but hopefully James Harden can come back because it's definitely not going to be the same without him. Milwaukee's going to have a much bigger chance to win the series.
Right. And I know we don't know a lot of information about it yet, Tyler, pero narinig natin na he was escorted right out of the arena right away. They went for an MRI in the hospital right away. Initially, is that a bad sign rather na ganun kaseryoso yung re-injury na dinala ka agad siya sa hospital?
I wouldn't read too much into that because I think that's just a precaution. I mean, of course, they have to make sure that they know what the injury is right away so that they can take the necessary steps forward. But based on what I saw, he was kind of walking off just fine. So baka hindi naman ganun kalala, but hopefully he can come back at least within the series. I doubt he's going to be able to come back in game 2, but we'll see.
Okay. So, that's a good sign. 115-107 ang ating final score dyan sa serye between the Milwaukee Bucks and the Brooklyn Nets. Now, let's shift our attention to the Milwaukee Bucks. And I want to get your experience again, Tyler. You've been part of a team, as you see the numbers of Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo on your screens. You've been part of a team that had the long rest going into the finals, if I'm not mistaken. Ano?
Yep.
Now, this is not as long. It's 1 week. They swept Miami nung first round. Did that come into play dito sa game number 1? Dahil lalo na in that first half, I think overall they shot 20% from 3, which is a big part of their game. Correct me if I'm wrong. But did they look rusty to you as it did to me? Well, you're the expert here, so I want to ask you.
I think the long layoff definitely played a part in their poor shooting. I mean, they looked rusty because those shots that they took, they're more than capable of making them. Those are shots that they make consistently. So the fact that they shot 6 of 30 from 3, I think, was the biggest difference. I mean, was that 20% compared to Brooklyn's 15 of 40? So I think that, along with the fact that the role players of Brooklyn stepped up, ultimately decided the game, because you know what you're going to get from KD, you know what you're going to get from Kyrie, you know what you're going to get from Giannis, but guys like Middleton and Drew really struggled with their shots, and I think that's because of the rust as well.
Okay, nakita natin yung ginawa ni Giannis. Not so bad for Giannis Antetokounmpo. He looked normal. He had 34 points, 11 rebounds. They were pounding the paint, even with Brook Lopez with 19 and 5. What do you need to see in game number 2, in your opinion, for Milwaukee to bounce back dito sa ating series?
Well, I'd like to see them control penetration a little bit more. I felt like Kyrie and KD were able to drive a little bit too much to create for their other scorers, such as Joe Harris, who had a good game also. Mike James even was able to get into the paint a lot. So I think they have to start with their defense, because their offense is going to be there. They're one of the top offensive teams. We know they can hit threes. We know they can make shots. It's just a matter of focusing on their defense first, and their offense, I think, will naturally come to them.
Okay, before I let you go, Tyler, our teammate here from NBA Hype, 2 questions. What did you have for breakfast today, Sunday? And second question, what or who is going to take game number 2? You have to answer both quickly.
Breakfast, I had sinigang left over from last night.
Sinigang for breakfast? Wow.
Game 2, if James Harden is not going to play in game 2, I'm going to have to say that the Bucks are going to steal home court advantage.
So they're going to tie the series.
My prediction.
You're going to tie the series in your opinion, okay? I hope there's leftover sinigang. Please message me your address. I might come over for lunchtime and finally say hi to your mom, who's been very, very kind to me also. Tyler, thank you very much for joining us again. We're sorry that we bothered you on a Sunday, but we'll talk to you soon, and we will see you soon again on NBA Hype. Tyler Teo from NBA Hype joining us here on the Game Weekend. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, buddy. Now make sure to catch more NBA action here on One Sports and on NBA TV Philippines. Here's a look at the games on tap for tomorrow. The Atlanta Hawks will take on the Philadelphia 76ers for Game 1 of their matchup in the Eastern Conference semifinals. That game happens at 1 a.m. and will be live on NBA TV Philippines. And then at around 8 a.m., One Sports will show a delayed telecast of that game number 7. Ooh, I can't wait. Of the LA Clippers and the Dallas Mavericks. Kawhi Leonard versus Luka Doncic. All right, folks, to wrap things up, let's take a look at some footage from the Gilas Women tryouts in the U.S. The Samahang Basketball ng Pilipinas and Fil-Am Nation Select are searching for prospects to add to the Gilas Pilipinas women's program. Gilas Women coach Pat Aquino is in Los Angeles. He oversaw the tryouts, which is all part of SBP's plans to invest in a pool of female players to develop. It is great news for our national team program, and it looks like the future of Philippine women's basketball is about to get brighter. And that's it for today. Thank you very much for joining us here on the Game Weekend. My name is Boom Gonzalez, reminding you that every day is game day, including the weekends. I'll see you next week.